steam, some House Democrats are turning their focus to another potential scandal President Trump and his associates are facing. Alleged hush money paid to former adult film star Stormy Daniels, who's claimed to have had an affair with Trump more than a decade ago. 9 Democrats signed a letter sent to the president's lawyers, Michael Cohen and Mark Kasowitz, demanding answers about that payment. With me now is Congressman Steve Cohen of Tennessee. He is one of those 9 Democrats who signed that letter. I just want to ask you, first of all, sir, what your chief concern here as you watch all of this unfold. There are so many layers, manifold layers here to this story about Stephanie Clifford, who goes by the name Stormy Daniels. What concerns you the most? What prompted you to sign your name to this letter?
Well, there's several factors. Of course, the federal election campaign laws is the primary source of our jurisdiction in judiciary, and whether they were violated and the payments were made over the limits and without notice and disclosure. And that's the major issue. Beyond that, there's just the whole panoply of women that have been claimed to be attacked by, groped by, harassed by Donald Trump, which he's denied entirely. But now we see in the case of Ms. Clifford and Ms. McDougal that in situations like this, he has used his money to get them not disclose what they've apparently has engaged in sex, and how many other times he might have done this. And it does bear to his credibility and to his propensities towards harassing and groping women, as he said on Entertainment Nightly or whatever the name of the show was,
Tonight,
that
right.
he could do it with impunity.
Yeah. I'm looking at the letter here, more than a dozen pages in length, Congressman Cohen. You say, we can assure you we have no interest in Mr. Trump's personal relationships in and of themselves. You talk about the purview that your committee has here to look into this. What would you like from these 2 attorneys for President Trump? And then you also have David Pecker here, the chairman of President, Chief Executive Officer of American Media as well. What do you hope to get from them here in the next couple of weeks?
Well, we'd hope that they would come forward and give us the information about who paid for Miss Clifford. It's hard to believe that Mr. Cohen would have violated ethics laws that attorneys have to not inform his client of what went on and to pay a amount of money for his client. That's something that could be violative of New York State ethics laws, and something attorneys generally don't do. Attorneys are not known to go into their own pockets. I won't go, and as an attorney, I won't suggest whose pockets they might go into, but they don't go into their own. And that's just bad business sense and bad legal ethics. And we'd like to know who did make those payments, and did Mr. Trump, in fact, sign them? And is David Dennison John Miller? Or is he John Barron? Or is he possibly even Donald J. Trump?
Help me with your oversight capacity, or how much oversight responsibility do you and the Judiciary Committee have here? What's your sense of what you're able to do?
Well, the Judiciary Committee should have oversight over this in terms of election laws, in terms of justice and civil jurisdiction. I'm the ranking member on the Constitutional Law Committee, but we should also be exercising jurisdiction over gun laws, which are criminal laws, over the Justice Department and issues concerning Mr. Mueller and threats to fire Mr. Rosenstein to get at Mr. Mueller. But we have done nothing. We are the People's House, and we are the relevant committee, not necessarily the Intelligence Committee, which has responsibilities but not the same as Judiciary. And yet our committee, because of the actions of our chairman, Mr. Goodlatte, we have done nothing to look into any of the abuses of the Constitution, possible violations of the Emoluments Clause, obstruction of justice, attacks on the judiciary, and attacks on the press by this presidency and this president, and we should be looking at all of these. But they are in bed with this president, and I think that history will judge this committee and this chairman very harshly, and many Republicans harshly, for staying in bed with what I think will be seen to be the most corrupt, mendacious president in the history of the United States.
My last question to you is about this moment, and you and your colleagues close this letter by nodding to that. You write, in a time of ever-increasing concern over sexual harassment and growing appreciation for the importance of offering support to survivors of sexual assault, that's the impetus for doing this in part. Speak to that a little bit more, if you would, here, Congressman Cohen. I read that quotation a little bit earlier about how there isn't interest principally here in the president's personal affairs, but there is some recognition from you and your colleagues about the Me Too movement, the moment that we're in right now.
Well, the letter was signed by several members of the Judiciary Committee, Mr. Natalie, our chairman, and also Lois Frankel, who heads up a women's caucus. And the women's caucus has been particularly interested in these allegations of Trump and harassment of women and sexually overreaching without acquiescence, without permission. And he's denied it all. And yet these are type of incidences, and we saw it with Gary Hart, and we've seen it with Bill Clinton, to where politicians have been involved with and it's become public issues, and it caused Gary Hart to drop out of the presidential campaign back in 2019. It caused Bill Clinton to be impeached, and with this president, nothing's happening. I think there are similar issues, and you know, you saw Al Franken surrendered his Senate position for much less than what Donald Trump has been accused of. Donald Trump's denied everything, but Donald Trump would destroy any and all lie detectors that have ever been created. He would burn them all up.
Congressman Cohen, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for the time. The gentleman from Memphis, Congressman Cohen, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Nice to be with you.